Hey, everybody. Okay, sorry, a little bit late here. This is a new one for me because we're actually going to merge some live streams at the same time. And I've never done this before, so this is going to be interesting. We'll see how this works. So, welcome to the Morph Livestream 02. For those joining for the first time, Morph is an interactive music VR experience, and it's going to be released for the Oculus Rift, the Oculus Rift S, the Quest 1, and the Quest 2. Very excited that I just got my Quest 2. So probably in the next live stream, I'll move over from my Quest 1 to the Quest 2. I'm very excited about that. And so, yeah, so basically I've invented this interactive music, spatial audio VR experience that will let you interact with experimental ambient music that I've composed, and then some songs from a bunch of other really fascinating, interesting electroacoustic, ambient, drone, experimental artists. And I'm going to be joined by one this evening, so we'll get to that in just a quick second. So that's what Morph is. Quick update on the release status, because it's not live yet. It's not available. So what I'm showing you tonight hasn't been released. I've submitted to Oculus, and I'm trying to get through their submission process so that the Rift app can make it onto the Rift store. And so I have no idea how long that will take. So I may actually go ahead and release the app on itch.io and SideQuest VR, and even downloads through Bandcamp, if it looks like the Oculus submission is going to take a while. It won't be on the Quest store because that's highly curated. In fact, I think they only want like games. So anyways, I'm not even submitting to the Quest store until January of next year when I do the official release. So that's the update on the release status. I have made a Discord channel for Morph, and so people, if you want to go and join that, I just started it today. In fact, let me copy and paste this over into the chat. So there's the link to the Discord channel, and so once the VR app is live, if you want to go over there and join, that would be great. You can talk to other people using it. You can feed me bugs, because the first version will be a public beta, so it will probably be buggy, and I want to fix those. And yeah, so anyways, you can join over there. And then lastly, I have archived the live stream. I did one 2 weeks ago. And all the future ones, including tonight, will be live streamed. And that is over on, well, it's here through Twitch. But if you do want to go and check it out, I've also archived it on my YouTube channel. And there is the link to that. Yeah, okay. So I think that catches us up. So I'm super excited for tonight's stream. I have a couple of guests. The first guest is Baron Harkonnen from the planet Giedi Prime, representative of House Harkonnen, and he has told me that if this live stream does not go well, he is going to pull out my heart plug. So thank you to him. He will be staring at me ominously and pustulously. Is that a word? I'm submitting it up. He has lots of pustules. Anyways, he'll be over there judging me the whole time. But I'm actually more excited to introduce a special guest. This is my friend Chris Child, who I've known for quite a while, and let's see if this actually works. I'm going to turn on some audio here, and I'm going to fade Chris in. Oh, that's magical. Oh, didn't quite do it. And, wait, hold on. Let's try it one more time. Still getting used to OBS. Oh, it's live. Hey! Chris Child, Kodomo-san, konbanwa, genki desu?
Genki. I'm honored that I'm as exciting as the pustule man.
He will be judging you also the whole time.
So. I used to hear that guy. I clearly remember steered into my mind as a kid. I'm still afraid of getting away. he like that was like my Dune memory as a kid, and that's why I was scared of that movie. Was that guy, and there was something very creepy about him, and
Yeah.
They made a toy.
Yes, they did make a toy for the original movie. I want to extend a welcome to some friends joining us. Rem State, hello. Chris Pine, nice to see you. Yes, Kodomo-san is here. Phyllis, hi, DVDV, joining us from Germany. She has a song in Morph too, and I'm hoping that she'll be able to join us on a future live stream and talk about her inclusion of a song inside the project too. So thanks for joining us. So, Chris, so I think I actually have now known you for 20 years. Did we meet in 1999 or I think we met in 2000, yeah?
Yeah, 2000. Yep.
20 years.
Which is crazy. Yeah, that now, I guess, is we can call that back.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, maybe even get a little closer there, just to want to make sure your audio doesn't cut out.
Yeah, how is it?
I think it's good. Just talk at a consistent, projected Broadway star volume.
All right, I will bring my Broadway epic voice. Okay.
Nice. So Chris and I met 20 years ago when we were both at Harmonix making music video games. And he, after Harmonix, he went off and wrote a ton of like really amazing electronic music, which he still does. He's written music for soap operas, commercials, like all sorts of really cool stuff. And it's predominantly under the moniker Kodomo, but he's also begun releasing some music under his own name as well. And Chris has actually 3 songs inside the Morph project because his music is so perfectly suited for the type of experience and the sort of musical technical aspect. And so Chris has included a Kodomo song called Storm King. And Storm King is off a pretty recent release. Maybe is it the last Kodomo release?
Yeah, the last release. Yeah, recent-ish.
Recent-ish. Okay, I just posted a link to his Bandcamp page and his song Storm King. I think there's some other versions of that. And then, and definitely check out the rest of his Bandcamp. He's got like a wide range of really great electronic music, some really drum-heavy stuff, some ambient stuff, some piano-focused stuff. So check that out. And then Chris also has done a lot of collaboration with another amazing ambient artist, Micah Frank, who I'm hoping to maybe have on at a future live stream if you can join. And so they collaborated on a song or an EP, and is it now 2 EPs?
Yeah, 2 EPs, exactly, yeah.
2 EPs, awesome. And so I was really into a song that Chris and Micah made called Stargazer. And so in a future live stream, if I can get maybe Micah to join, I'll do a performance of Stargazer. And then tonight, I'm going to do a live performance of Storm King. Very excited about that. And then the other contribution is that Chris and I have a collaboration. We're all collaborating together, if you can't tell. It's a very incestuous community, always working together. It's really inspiring. And so Chris and I, a few years ago, we have been talking for years about trying to collaborate on some ambient techno or straight up techno, and it ended up being more ambient techno, but we really wanted to make some live techno together. And I think it was it in 2018, Chris, that we actually made it happen?
Yeah, I believe, that sounds right. Yeah, 2018, January, I think.
Yeah, like we got together in 2018, but then it didn't, and then that was for the first EP, Dispack 01. And if you want to find Dispack, that's over on the Foil website. So Chris started this amazing record label collective of artists called Foil. And there's a Foil Bandcamp page and, Facebook page, all this stuff. And I'll post a link to Foil later on. I don't have it super handy right now. Or Chris can post it later on in the chat. And so we've released now 2 Dispack EPs. And each one, we did a techno collaboration. The first time I went to his studio in Brooklyn, and the second time he came out to my studio in Seattle. So we'll talk about that. I was going to do a live stream of performance of both the Dispack song and Storm King, but I'm not prepared. This week has been a little crazy, and I didn't get fully prepared. So I'm going to save Dispack for a future one, and I'm just going to do a performance of Storm King after we talk to Chris a little bit more. So, Chris, why don't you maybe give people who may not know your music the sort of like elevator pitch or the 1-minute overview of like what you do. What do you bring to the table, Chris?
I need to work on the elevator pitch. I've been contemplating years. I can't do it. It's too long, and people start. So in the without.
Uh-oh. Hey, Chris, I think we just lost you again.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. This audio's not working super well. I'm not sure why that is. Get it even closer. Get really right up to your face.
Okay, super close here. Is that better?
You know, it's weird. I don't even know if the actual proximity is helping or not.
Huh. Weird.
So,
but it was before, yeah?
Well, no, I mean, we did a test for everybody out there in Livestream land. We did a test this week, and the video's like totally working fine, but the audio did drop out a couple times, and I'm not totally sure why. But why don't you keep going, and I'll fill in the blanks if we lose you.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Essentially, you're asking essentially what do I call my music?
Yeah.
The long and the short of it, it's under the umbrella of electronic music. I think definitely rooted in and inspired by a lot of the early '90s electronic music from like labels like Warp that really kind of combining experimental approaches, but still valuing melodic and harmonic and compositional song structures. Have you so? Basically the early bedroom music producers music.
Yeah. Okay.
With I think I would say without pigeonholing the genre, it really reflects my tastes in music. Classical music, the early electro stuff, techno, certainly the gamut of ambient music. So I'd really say it's like an electronic music soup. It's sort of like this constantly simmering thing that's evolving along with my taste, but always reflecting kind of my initial interests in music and experimenting with synthesizers, samplers, and what I can do with the computer, and so yeah, I've always looked at it as kind of an ongoing process in that sense. That's like I said, it's not really an elevator pitch. So
no, that's pretty good. No, I think that's good. I think that fills people in. Of course, the music stands for itself. So for those who are just joining, there's a link up there to Chris's Bandcamp page. So definitely go and check that out. And it's one of the things you mentioned that I also appreciate just about the Foil label is that all the artists on the label have a very similar sort of like view of music and evolution and trying different things and different collaborations. And I encourage everybody to go over there and check that stuff out because that's where Micah's music is. Some amazing music from Kodomo. There's a lot of really interesting stuff there.
Label for sure. Yeah. And that was the idea, the impetus of starting it was really to have a home for these projects and these releases and to be able to foster that kind of collaboration and actualize them. Because there's a lot of like, oh, it would really be cool if we could do this, but we don't really have a place for it.
Right.
So label was an excuse, so to speak, to actually, kind of manifest a lot of these ideas and collaborations.
Well, I do have to give a quick shout out. Thank you to Chris Pine for commenting on liking the Kodomo song Strike and then liking the Symbion Project remix of Strike, which for those who don't know is how long, Chris? 20.
I remember this because it's one of the longest tracks ever. 27 minutes.
Oh yeah, Chris has got yes, it's 26 minutes long, almost 27, I think. It's definitely the wait, keep going, Chris.
It's longer than Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Ah, yeah. Well, I mean, some might say, easily better than anything he put out.
Yeah.
That guy. I mean, once you started going deaf, it was all downhill for him.
Seriously, right? Yeah.
And so, so thanks for liking that remix. You should check that out. That's a very long form sort of techno remix of Chris's amazing song Strike. Well, so I want to talk about Storm King a little bit. And so why don't I give you the floor a little bit and maybe talk about sort of like, where you were in your life, maybe where you were physically in the world? Like, what gear did you use? Like, where were you mentally? Talk about the song a little bit, and then maybe I'll talk about the sort of inclusion of the song in Morph.
Sure. Yeah. I I appreciate I talked to Casson earlier, and he'd suggested, maybe go back and check out that session, um, and see if you can, pull some things out of that. And I did. I realized, like a lot of stuff I really don't remember very much after it's done. And I'm glad I kind of poked around in there. So the first thing I noticed, it was started in 2016, and I realized I had there's 30 different mixes that I tracked, over time. So it clearly took on a lot of forms and went through a lot of evolution, which a lot of the music that I end up working on inevitably does. But it was summer of 2016 when I started that track, and I was in a cottage out on Long Island for the entire summer. My wife at the time was running an art gallery out in Long Island, so we were staying out there and renting this little cottage, and I basically had like a little garage studio, and I clearly remember there's this like awesome thunderstorm, and being the sound geek, I had to record it, and I remember it having this really nice kind of muffled, soft sound because of the roof, the garage roof, kind of created this nice filter, and so it just sounded great. So right in there. So I recorded maybe 10 minutes or so of it, and then just started kind of plonking around on the piano, playing with the sound of the thunderstorm going through the speakers and some piano chords. And I recorded this the main pattern you hear in the beginning of the track that just repeats throughout the whole course of the track.
So did you have access to a real piano? Did you have like an upright
No,
there, or
no,
where did you get what was the piano you used?
it was a piano sample.
Okay.
Yeah, and I later recorded a real piano doing it, but often what I'll do is I'll just start whatever I have lying around, and in that case, it was a piano sample, nothing great I liked the kind of simple pattern, along with the often weather's definitely sort of a source of inspiration to me, and kind of gives me some colors and some kind of mood to work with. So I also remember if something loops well, I can generally kind of blow it out into a piece, or at least attempt to. And I remember that it was like something that I thought, oh, okay, this loops well. I could see growing this into a larger piece. I wasn't crazy about the piano, and so I remember fiddling with running it through some reverb because it needed reverb. But I think I accidentally turned down the piano, and then the reverb was set to 100% wet. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, that's way cooler. Like it's sort of barely still sounds like it barely sounds like a piano, but it sort of sounds like something else. It's just the reverb version of what the piano was. So once I had that, it was really that plus the actual sound of the storm, and then it was a lot of revisiting and trying to kind of weave in some other elements to really support those two. I also remember playing it for some people and them suggesting that the thunderstorm was a little too overt, and you might want to like back away on that a little bit, and that made sense. I also sent the track out to a vocalist who I've Cass and I both work with, Marcus, who's from Finland, and he actually did some amazing kind of improvisational vocal passes, which I then ran through some interesting granular processing, and would then kind of weave those into the track as I saw fit. But revisiting those mixes, I really noticed just how much it kind of evolved, and how when working on something really simple, and I think I have something that's really satisfying and that can actually turn into a whole piece. The difficulty really becomes in crafting all these little details, and inevitably ends up being a lot of time in between to gain the kind of perspective where I would notice, where things are effective and where things aren't as effective. Most of the track is really that repeating piano loop, with all this kind of shifting and morphing of other synths running through reverbs, 100% wet, a lot of kind of fine tuned automation to a lot of modulating modulators. So that everything, the idea was, I very much wanted to convey the kind of ever evolving, cloudy, stormy sky, everything. The idea is everything's sort of subtly changing over time. So you're maybe not as aware of it as the track's progressing, but if you would skip from like one section to like one part to the next, you would notice quite a difference. And that being said, the form is also, I wanted to do something that was a lot more fluid. It really is more, the form is just something that's kind of unraveling this kind of slow momentum in a way, rather than any kind of recurring sections, and that was something I also had been interested in exploring at the time. And yeah, gear wise, it was pretty simple though. I think it was maybe like there's like an EBow guitar on there playing some counter lines, and then the piano, which I later then recorded live, and some synths again going through reverb. So I would say this is an example of like a track where the effects play such a dominant role in shaping the overall sound and the harmonic content as well. You get a lot of kind of harmonies introduced because of the byproduct of the effects that they run through.
Yeah, right.
And, kind of what I hate doing is the labor of massaging the whole thing to work so it sounds smooth and is conveyed in a way that feels right. And then so I went through a lot of, like I said, a lot of iterations, really kind of going back, and I'd do a mix, I'd listen to it, and I'd try something else. And like I said, at the end, I had like 30 or so different mixes.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually releasing two, one without the vocals.
Oh, we lost you there, Chris. Maybe say again what you just said.
So I ended up releasing two versions of the track, which you can find on the Bandcamp release. One with Marcus's vocals, and one without the vocals, because I still enjoyed the kind of raw purity of the track without the vocals. It had this sort of starkness to it, and that's how it began. But the vocals to me had kind of a human quality. So that was one of those instances where I had two versions that I actually did end up.
Well, and what's interesting, and to touch on a few things you just said about the making of the song, is that bringing the various elements of this. There's the piano and there's the field recordings of the storm. One of the things that I need for this Morph project is lots of audio, right? If I only have like 2 tracks of audio, there's not much to interact with. You can interact with track 1 or track 2. Yeah. And so, but I was able to, get all those individual tracks. And so in the actual VR experience, right, like if you want to bring that storm right up close to you and make it be very loud and a part of the experience, you can bring it right there. In fact, I think you'll hear at the beginning of the piece when I perform in a few minutes, the
Awesome.
it's right there. Like you're in the storm right away. But if you
Yeah.
want the storm to go away, you can start, you can push the storm away. And one of the things about talking about vocals is that because all these tracks are in there, the piano and the vocals, and there are other really interesting layers like the EBow guitar, is that you can really have the song go through these different sort of evolutions and arc. And I think I'm going to try to do that where there might be a moment in the song where all you hear are just the vocals, just
Mhm.
Marcus's vocals. And it's really interesting to experience it that way. And I think that Chris, you and I learned this way back in the day at Harmonix, that when we made those music games, even going all the way back to frequency and
Mhm.
amplitude, is that when non-musicians or non-songwriters, or even musicians and songwriters, but mostly non-musicians and non-songwriters, when they get to interact with music in a dynamic, controlled way where they have control, not just putting it on while they do dishes or run the treadmill or whatever, that they're actually playing a game around the music elements, that it takes their understanding of music and it takes their love and appreciation of music to a whole new level.
Totally.
Right, like, and especially with the games, you're playing a game and there's sort of like adrenaline rush, and you're playing the repetition of like, oh, I got to beat this level, so I'm playing it over and over and over, and I've now heard the song like several hundred times. But so even setting that aside, one thing I like about the Morph experience is that it allows music lovers to interact and engage with the music dynamically in a way that is very transcendental compared to the normal passive way of listening to music. And I'm excited for people to get in there and experience the 3 songs that you've included in there, because they're very different flavors than the actual final recordings that we put out.
Yeah.
And I still, that you and I think about the mixes that we make as sort of the definitive version, and that will never change. They'll still be like, for us personally, it's set in stone, right? Our Rosetta Stone versions that stay that way forever. But I'm excited for people to like try this out, and it's like they're making their own mixes and based on their own tastes, and I think that's a really interesting experience for people
Def-
that this offers.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I think that, I mean, it certainly lends itself really well to this kind of a system. And it was a great surprise to me and great enjoyment to me to hear it recontextualized and remember, oh yeah, there's that stem or that track that's like been buried in my mix. I forgot about it completely. I didn't even know that part existed. And then there it is floating by you,
Right.
lovely.
Well, what's even crazier, and this is I have found to be very challenging for the artists that I've included, is that the dry tracks, which are the source original recordings with no processing. I mean, maybe they have some EQ and some compression, but the dry tracks have been separated from their effects. So when Chris said, "Oh, I had this piano part, and then I put this reverb on it, and I accidentally turned all the dry off and only heard the reverb," it was like, oh, that was the moment where this thing gelled. Well, what's interesting is in the VR experience, you can hear the completely dry version and the completely wet version independent of one another. And
Yeah.
and you'll hear the EBow, which is this like really beautiful sound, almost theremin-like, but it's totally dry. And then the version with all the effects is a separate track. And so you might actually hear the dry version, drift by me at one point. And then later you'll hear the wet version. And I think
Yeah.
that's been challenging for the artists, including music in the project, is like, oh my God, my sound is going to be basically exposed, right? It's almost like showing up naked to school in your dreams. Right? Like, oh my God, there's my EBow and my piano sound that I never wanted anybody to ever hear without all the beautiful reverb and delay and tape echo. And now it's got all that stuff. And it's been challenging for artists to let go. And a huge part of this project for me is letting go of the control and giving that control over to the people interacting with it in VR. But it's also been a loss of control from the artists, including their music, because a lot of their tracks are sort of naked and raw and put right out there. And so you can hear dry vocals and I see DVDV commenting on this because she has a song in here and she's saying it was hard for her to like hear her voice exposed like that. And so I sort of like this. I'm putting the artists in the project in an uncomfortable position. And
Yeah.
I'm putting all the control over the experience into other people's hands, and I think it's hard for artists to let go of that control. So we have now talked for 30 minutes, and I would love to talk with you, Chris, for ages longer. And so actually, it might be fun to have you back. Maybe if when I do the performance of Stargazer with you and Micah, maybe all three of us can join together, although we'll see if that can actually work.
Uh-huh.
And at the very least, I would love to have you back when I do the Dispack performance in a future live stream. We can talk about how we created the Dispack stuff. So before I go into Storm King and perform the song live and say adieu to you, Jeanne, any last things you want to talk about? Do you want to talk anything about the song? Do you want to talk about stuff you're working on? What's your sort of what do you want to tell the world?
There is a new Kodomo release in the works in this very room. It's starting to come together a little more, so that's coming up. There's a soundtrack I'll be releasing later at the end of this year in December, and then we have a couple foil releases coming up, obviously including this wonderful Morph release. I think that's the first. Micah's cooking up something, but yeah, we have a good roster of stuff coming up. Definitely, please do check out the foil Bandcamp page, and the foil comp has a lot of exclusive tracks on there that we've released that we haven't released anywhere else.
Yep.
And just want to say thanks, Cassim, for doing this. This is awesome, and your project's awesome, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining the live stream from your East Coast studio. So it's 9 p.m. where Chris is, and it's 6:30 where I am. So we have a little bit of a time difference. That's why I shifted it early. I think in future ones I'll probably go back to a little bit later. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining, Chris. And so now I'm going to segue over and sort of turn our feeds off. I need to get Unity and my Quest running. I've got it
Okay.
here, and it's ready to go. I'm excited to move over to my Quest 2 in a few weeks. And then after the live stream performance, I'll jump back on if anybody has any follow-up questions or anything like that. And I'll just do a little goodbye, everybody, and maybe talk about the next live stream. So stick around for that. And so I'm going to segue over now to Storm King by Kodomo in Morph VR. All right. I'll see you,
Okay.
Chris. Thank you for joining.
In the audience chair now.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
All right. Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still here. So I'm gonna move this fancy graphic over. I'm gonna turn my mic off, and thank you, Chris, for joining. So give me a brief moment here to get things settled. And again, this is Storm King by Kodomo-san. Hello. Oh, that was nice. Let me turn the other things off that are happening here. That was Storm King by electronic artist Kodomo. He has a song in Morph VR, and I was super excited to debut that. Last week I debuted a song that I wrote from a project called Black House Triangle. And this was his lovely piece, a beautiful piece around field recordings, piano, EBow guitar, synthesizer, and effects. And I want to thank everybody for joining in. This is super fun. I'm excited to continue doing these every other week, I think, on Friday evenings. Although the times might change, I'm excited to have other artists who are in the project join. Thank you all for joining in the chat. If you scroll up and down in the video or up and down in the chat, you can see links to things. At the end, I'll post a link again to Chris's music. This will be archived here on Twitter, on Twitcher, for a while. And I also am moving the archives over to YouTube. And one thing I said at the beginning is I have a Discord server now, so there's a link back at the beginning to Discord. And I'm hoping that in 2 weeks on the next live stream that I have an update on the actual release. So even if it's not on the Oculus store yet, I'm going to get it up so people can start downloading it. And that will also come with a free soundtrack. The whole thing will be free. The soundtrack and the VR experience will be free. So if you haven't gotten a VR headset yet, I would recommend getting a Quest 2. It really is a huge leap for VR. You don't need a PC. There's some, and the resolution is greater and battery, and it's not quite as heavy and all that stuff. Anyways, yeah, come and join me again in the future. I'm going to continue doing these and include more amazing artists who are part of this. Matt Mercer, DVDV, Micah Frank, George Hurd, some really great artists. So I think that is everything on my end. So let me do a quick search here in the chat and just see if anybody has any questions. There's a lot here. Oh, thank you for all the nice comments. Yes, very late in the evening in Germany. Thank you. Maybe this will help lull you to sleep. Yes, Chris Pine asks, so does each one have a preset loop that emits? Yeah, so all the floating objects you see, the green asteroid or the little white orbity atom type symbol icon, each one of those is one track of mono audio. And so when I bring that close to me, it becomes very loud. And when I push it away from me, it becomes quiet, just like the real world. That's how we hear in the real world. When something is close, it's loud. And then, of course, based on where I am placing it in 360 degrees, based on my head position, or in this case, there is sort of a center, up, down, left, right position. So as it drifts over towards the left side of a virtual microphone, you would hear it coming out in your left speaker. And so actually, that's what I'm going to talk about in 2 weeks. I'm excited to talk more about the technology behind this. I'm even going to see if maybe some of the technical people who helped make this in Unity with me could join me. And talk about spatial audio and HRTF and how the whole process works. I'll even show some Unity. I'll show you the Unity behind the scenes so you can sort of see what the project looks like. And we'll go super nerdy on the technical background of this stuff. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you joining me. This guy is not going to pull out my heart plug. He was judging me the whole time, but Baron Harkonnen is happy with my performance. So, all right. Big load off my shoulders there. I'm all good, even though the movie got delayed a year. That's a sad face. But I do want to see it in the theater. So, okay. Thanks again, everybody. I'll read through your questions if I miss them. Come back in 2 weeks, or I'll answer them in 2 weeks. But my brain is fried, but I'm very chill from doing that performance. So thanks everybody for joining, and I will see you on the other side.